Hi, everybody. Recruiting Animal here on April 5, 2023. We have to welcome back our good friend Donna. She just moved into a new recruiting job. She's got some HR functions as well, but it's medical communications recruiting is your focus. Am I right, Donna?
You're almost always right, and that was correct.
Okay.
Good
And
job.
is there any website that you want us to note?
Not
No.
right now.
And you haven't taken my advice of buying a domain name for your LinkedIn profile and pointing it there. So people, okay. I consider it a mistake.
I'm not doing any kind of personal branding right now, so at some point that might be important.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know it's going to cost you 20 American or something like that. God forbid, It costing me 30 Canadian, and I have a lot of them, so it's expensive. David M. Marr, welcome back to the show. He doesn't have a domain name either. I tell them every week, people, but they don't listen to me. Why should they? Okay.
I think it makes more sense though on the agency side, and I'm on the corporate
on
side.
every side. You know what? I got to say, every branding person says that recruiters, internal corporate recruiters, need a brand. Look, there was huge layoffs at Amazon. Amy didn't get laid off. She's got a huge brand, okay? She's a star, okay? She's a natural performer. I consider not everybody's going to be as exciting to listen to and as fun as her. But, everybody's offering these job tips and things like that, all the recruiters. And anyway, let me move on. I might delete this, okay? I do delete the show. Okay, I saw an agency recruiter on LinkedIn bragging that her company finds killer talent. Killer talent. Is that bad branding after all these shootings in the United States?
Yeah, I think the language you use to brand your company makes a difference.
Well, killer and crushing it are, he's killing it, he's crushing it. That's part of the American lexicon these days, or it has been the last few years. Is it going out of style since all these shootings are taking place? No, Donna doesn't have an opinion. Yeah, at least you express it on your face. You can see what she's thinking. I don't know. David M. Marr, you said branding is important, but what was your opinion? You don't like it? Killer talent?
I think the language needs to change because it sounds very like violent, right? So
violent. Okay.
Something more
and
more
it turns off women, according to that. I won't name the company, but the one that divides, that analyzes all the job ads says that turns off women. But we've got a woman here, not you and me. Let's ask her. Is that bad?
I just think it sounds old. It's what we used to say in the 80s. Like, oh, it's killer. It just sounds dated to me. It doesn't sound like edgy.
It doesn't scare you because you're a fragile woman, okay?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't scare me. I mean,
it scares David M. Marr. Okay.
People get so offended at everything. So I don't know what. Okay. You're always going to bother somebody.
Yeah, okay. End of that. Okay. LinkedIn. I found this interesting. If someone wants to do some content marketing on LinkedIn, lots of recruiters post all kinds of stuff there to attract people in their niches. I found out this week that LinkedIn does not promote postings that have external links to outside articles. And the person who said that, they said, look, nobody's going to click that stuff anyway and go read those articles. I don't know how true that is, but I guess maybe LinkedIn doesn't want you leaving the site unless you're pointing to an article on LinkedIn. That's something to consider. Any comment from anybody, or you're just saying, hey, Recruiting Animal, thanks for bringing me that little gem. Okay. I know it took you a few minutes to get there.
Thank you for the gem. Now, I didn't know that.
Okay. What about
David is highly amused. He really liked that.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, this is too bad Rich Rosen isn't here. If he shows up, I'll ask him this. I saw a recruiter, like Rich says, everybody who doesn't know, he's a big biller, and he says he's driven by fear. No matter how much money he makes, he's always afraid that he won't close enough deals and things like that. I saw a guy write today on Facebook. He said, I just saw a LinkedIn message from a guy I just placed who started on Monday. The fee was huge. He says, I shit my pants. That's what he wrote. Why is he messaging me? So finally, he thought there was a fall off or something. He read the message and it's the candidate asking if he can help other people he's worked with find jobs. So he was so pleased with them.
Oh, wow.
Okay. But this guy, just like Rich, he said, I've always been afraid. I've been in the business for 13 years, and that's the key to my success. When I'm afraid, I don't feel like working. Okay. And that is not the key to would not be the key to my success. Anybody else has a positive, finds fear as a positive motivation?
Mm.
I wouldn't say fear is a positive motivator.
Well, if it makes you do something, I'm saying it doesn't make you run away from what you have to do. It makes you do it. Sometimes if I get a notice from the government, yeah, that can make me scared and I'll go into action because something has to be done, but it's a limited kind of thing. If I'm going to be working a big search and I'm scared the whole time, I don't know if I could sustain it. It's too physically taxing.
I don't think Rich would say, I don't want to speak for Rich, but I will. I don't think he would say he's scared the whole time through the whole process, but I think it makes you proactive and it makes you put in maybe extra steps to try to make sure it doesn't all go to pot.
Are you scared? Are you scared?
And the moment right now, no.
No,
But I will say, like, even when I took this job that I'm doing now, until I saw that first paycheck go into my account, I'm like, I'm not sure I really have, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I know what he's saying. Whatever the deal is, whatever you're working on, you want to make sure it doesn't fall apart. So there's that.
No, I don't think you know what you're saying. You're going on too long. Forget it. Okay, here's my theory, though. Different brains.
Hey, Donna, long time no see.
Different brains. He's got a clear picture today. Well, it doesn't look like you're looking at us. It looks like you're looking up there. I don't feel like you're. Okay, yeah, fine. Okay. Here's the thing. I think different brains have different levels of fear. So my brain, I'm a very sensitive person. My fear is immobilizing. Rich's fear is probably, he calls it fear, the same word, but it's probably minimal. So that just is a motivator for him. It just sort of makes him more alert rather than terrified, like me. Okay. Let me go on. Do you have fear? You're a businessman. You don't seem to have any fear, Mario.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Every day before I sleep, I fear the end of the business. Okay, it's a daily thing. We live with the fear every day. Get used to it over a period of time. Yeah. I fear the day I go back to being broke again.
How intense is your fear on a scale of 1 to 10?
I have
10 being, out of this world.
Let's see. Let's have a 6 to 7. Yeah.
Okay.
We live with the fear animal. The fear is a daily thing for us.
6 to 7 is pretty high. What about you, Sasha? Do you want to comment on? Do you have fear? You're not in your own business yet.
No, I don't have my own business.
But of success in recruiting, are you scared? Is that a motivator for your job?
Well, fear is one of my motivators. That's definitely. However, the main reason why I wanted to participate in today's show is to see how this new wave of recessions and layoffs in tech industry and overall affects recruiting market. However,
let's get to that later. The startup has to be kind of fun, and we're dragging it out. It's not that much fun. Dave, up in heaven, do you have fear?
I wouldn't say I'm afraid, but there's definitely motivators. Like I was part of a tech layoff at my company, which I used to recruit for Indeed. And the market right now is, I've got thousands of former colleagues that are.
I'm not understanding what you're saying. Are you unemployed? Is that what you said?
Yes, my position was eliminated by the layoffs.
So now you're worried about getting a new job.
I'm not worried. I mean, I'm in the job market, but I'm
okay, but that's not what I was talking
about.
Dave,
when did this happen, Dave?
The 22nd, so my last day was the 31st.
Oh, shit, man.
Wow.
Okay, here's what I'm talking about, Dave. Just maybe you can contemplate it. It's when you're doing your recruiting work before you're unemployed, you're worried that you're not going to be successful and they'll fire you, okay?
No,
or you're not going to make money if you're working for yourself.
No,
that was a question. No answer. You're out. Okay, I'm finished with that.
Money motivated is mine.
I'm just going to enjoy my Mountain Dew.
It's not money motivation, and Okay, look.
I don't get
okay.
afraid, put it that way. I don't
Okay,
crack
yeah,
under
okay,
pressure.
fine. Yeah, he's not afraid, but he
No.
had that. I had to mumble through. You know what? All you're doing is giving me stuff I have to waste my time editing out. When you guys ramble,
For your
okay.
vast audience who loves to watch and listen to
Yeah,
all the
I was
clips.
telling her,
Donna, it's nice to have you back. Huh?
I post
Welcome
these
back
things.
to the
I
dark
spend
side.
time cutting them out to 30 seconds or a minute to post it. So it's so easy to watch a show now.
Mm.
Nobody's interested. It's just for us anyway. Okay.
Animal,
but
very simple thing, Animal. This show is meant for the elite
yeah.
or the elite of the recruiting
Yeah,
world.
Okay. Okay. I thought this was good. Rich said it's terrible. Okay. I saw he made a comment on it. Amy says her favorite interview question is, what do you need to know to make this opportunity worth exploring? And it can be, something about the job itself, the team, or the company. I thought that's a very good one. Does anybody like it or hate it?
I like it.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
steal it.
Yeah, you like it,
I
Mario?
liked it
Why?
as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal it. I'll tell you why. Okay, it may disarm a person when you talk to them. I'll ask my team to start using it.
I think it offers them a guide. Yeah, this is what
Yeah,
would.
it's like
It's a nice, pleasant, non-aggressive comment. Dave, did you want to say something? Am I
Yeah,
right? Did I hear?
I like it because part of it, like if you're the interviewer, right, it's going to give you insights into the motivation of the person that you're interviewing.
Okay.
And it's also going to give that person the opportunity, if they've done their research, to really get answers to the questions of whatever's important to them, right? So if it's, the stability, the financials of the company, what the job entails, like the technology you're using, whatever.
What I like about it, there's two versions. There's one is they're not in an interview. You're trying to recruit them and say, what is it that I could tell you that's going to make it worth exploring? And then you lay out, the role, the team, the company, or they're actually in the process and you say, what do you need to know to make this opportunity worth accepting? Okay, maybe after the first interview or maybe before the interview. So the thing is, they're thinking about what they need, but you also give them multiple choice. What is it about the job? What is it about the team? Because they don't always have, their issues well organized, and you're doing it for them. Did anybody else want to comment on that? No?
I think you're right. I agree with you.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Yeah, I do. And I think it also gives you a lot of insight into their depth of thought at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. And now that I'm on the inside, I know more about what the teams need. I know more about what the managers need. So I can see being internal, that is even more important to help me know that I'm bringing the right
Donna is
person.
moving from being an agency recruiter to being an internal corporate recruiter. She's only been at it 2 weeks. And you're already
2.5.
saying that thanks. Okay. I tried to make it easier. Okay. But you're saying you already see significant differences in the
Yep.
depth of understanding of the client. Why is that?
They reveal more. So we would ask the same questions in an intake, but they didn't show as much of their hand as being on the inside. I really
Why
see
not? Are they
everything.
stupid? You're trying to do the
Yeah,
work
they're
for them.
stupid.
I don't know, but I know also I can observe more if I'm sitting in on a meeting and even just my own observation of seeing how two managers are interacting and talking about what they're doing, I can understand more about that person as a manager because I'm seeing them do their job. I'm seeing them do their work, if that
And
makes
how
sense.
does that contribute to your
Well, I'll give you one example. I have two managers that are pretty high up that have significant teams. So there will be things we'll be recruiting for their teams. One manager has very stable business with a big client, very stable. Another one has lots of pieces of business with what we would say maybe volatile clients. And so the kind of person that needs to be on one team under this manager and how she does things compared to this team, it's a very different personality. Same skill set. They got to be able to do the same work, but it's going to be a different type of person. And they may not even be aware of that. I'm trying to point it out to them as I meet with different people, but that's a big thing.
So they don't even know to tell you. You have to draw it out of them like a therapist. Is that what
They
you're
may
saying?
not have noticed it, but being an observer.
You're pretty crazy, buddy. And I think somebody who, is a little nervous isn't going to be well on your team. They have to be able to work with someone who is a little out there. Okay. Whereas Joe Blow over here, he can take a normal person. Anybody else want to comment on that question before I move on? Because I have a related issue. Those two questions, that interview questions that Amy loves, you already commented, pal. Sasha was the only one. I thought I'd give her an opportunity.
I like the question, and I'm gonna borrow it, as Mario said.
Hey, you should steal it, not borrow it. You
Yes,
steal what's
Yeah.
great.
You're gonna steal it, I'm gonna borrow
He's
it.
a little more blunt than
So
you.
sweet.
Okay,
Such a nice
but
person.
here's the thing that even a candidate though, how can you figure out when you're interviewing or the hiring manager, is this person volatile? How do I know this person's not going to come to work, even if they seem fine in the interview? And if somebody starts talking about Trump getting arrested or Hunter Biden's laptop, this person it will be so passionate about it and nasty, it won't be fun to work with that person. How can you find that out before you hire somebody or even send a candidate in? Is there because Donna gave us the the segue into that we need a certain kind of person to fit on this team. Well, that person might not be nice personality wise, but how do you figure that out in the interview?
You can check their social media, their background, run a quick social media background check. Normally these nut jobs tend to be very high on posting on social media, Reddit, those kind of groups.
Isn't that funny? Everybody says you shouldn't go on to check their
You
social
should.
media
No, you should.
because it's their
There's no harm
personal
in that.
life. Okay, not their.
So what? See, you're asking to screen out extremists. Okay.
I don't know if it's an extremist. It's just a cranky, passionate type. I have people, when I put something from the news up, they'll come in and they'll treat me like they're a wild animal, right?
Yeah, that's because they're on the internet. You meet them in person, they'll be the most humble people on the planet.
I don't think so. Okay. But
Oh,
so you're
trust
saying,
me.
no. So here, your solution is to look at their social media. Anybody
Yeah, you
else
can get
got
a general idea of it.
I agree with you, Mario. Anybody else got a take on that?
Well, I think you got to really describe the culture they're coming into, and sometimes you can pull things out of them based on describing like the type of person that's going to fit well on this team is someone who blah 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 blah
No,
blah.
give me an example. How would you rule out this person who's going to argue about politics in a nasty way?
So at our company, the type of person that's going to thrive in our company is highly professional, knows how to, keep a cool head, doesn't bring up controversial topics at work, but sticks to the task at hand. Does that sound like you? I mean, I wouldn't go probably say that, but I would let them know, hey, here's the expectations. Here's what
Have
it's
you
like.
ever said
here.
that to a candidate?
What? Tell them the expectations and what it's
No,
like.
what you just said. Well, you know what? We need someone who's
Yeah.
professional here and can control their temper. We don't want a
Yeah.
person who's going to have.
Well,
you actually
so
tell
on the
somebody that?
inside, no, because I haven't done it yet. But on the agency side, I would be very clear with this company that I'm sending you to. Here's what they're like. They need this, 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 and this. I did not have a huge I didn't have a huge send out number, but my send out to placement ratio was the best because I didn't send people if they weren't
Guys, I
probably a
have to
great
go.
fit.
See you
That's all that
later.
matters, Donna.
Sorry,
Bye,
Sasha,
Sasha.
we didn't get to your question. I thought you'd be here for the whole time.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's good. You're gonna record it, and happy Easter, everyone.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
happy
you.
Easter to you too.
Bye.
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 Okay.
And there were 4.
Anybody else how to filter out the temperamental types?
Well, you can also judge them based on asking them hard questions.
Like what?
Yeah.
I think it's
Like you.
Like
David, please
David
go
and
ahead.
Marr. It's a David
please,
and
Marr.
Marr. Go ahead.
so. I think it's important to be honest and direct with candidates about what the environment is like. So if you have an environment that, let's say, is challenging, I would describe it in as positive. I would use positive terms, of course, but like
What do you mean by challenging?
Like
There's
like
a
when you-
hiring manager who yells a lot and is
yeah, like you would say, works in a highly stressful, challenging environment where variables constantly change and priorities shift. Basically, you want to set it up in such a way where you're painting a picture about the
I don't
environment.
really know what
where
you're talking
people
about.
opt
I tell
in
people
or opt
before they
out.
come as a guest on the show, I said it's rowdy. There's yelling. You have to enjoy that kind of debate. Okay, that's
exactly.
pretty blunt. Okay, but you don't. You say you talk around it. Oh, it's a stressful environment. What makes it
Oh,
stressful? You don't
I'm
say
saying
it.
you paint a picture where people opt in or opt out. So
Okay.
if the people don't want that, then you're not going to waste your time.
You know what? I'm talking about somebody who gets frustrated and has a temper tantrum, somebody who's very temperamental. Okay. How do you filter those people out unless you give them personality assessments? Can you do it in an interview?
Even that won't filter them out.
I think it might.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Not
Look,
really.
it's Ernie. Ernie has wisdom. Ask Ernie.
The Don. Welcome back, Godfather.
Oh, Ernie's here.
I always love to
well,
see him, you
Ernie
know?
was in
Yes.
HR. Okay. Ernie was a VP of HR. Ernie, how do you filter out or decide in an interview that the candidate is going to be not temperamental? If some people are Trump supporters in the office, some people voted for Biden, or they like Bernie, and so you want them to be able to get along with each other, and there's no nastiness when they talk about these issues like the arrest, or all this stuff. How do you know in advance that you have someone who's not temperamental? Is there a way? Do you check it, or just you assume they know themselves?
Oh, I was thinking about that, dear. It's funny you bring that up. I was thinking about that. How would I handle?
Great shot of your ceiling, by the way.
No, no,
I am temperamental, okay? I'm that type, and I show it.
Animal, you're like a pussycat.
but you've never told me that though about the ceiling. No, every time. Hey, no, I don't think there's a way of really telling until certain events happen, and you can take the politics as one thing, but you just gotta kind of play it out. And if you're in charge of it, you got to bring them in and just sit down and tell them you're disrupting.
Donna, it's almost 12:30. I know you got that.
Yeah, I've got a plan.
Okay, I'm just taking care of you. So Ernie, you gave a non-answer, just like almost every. The only answer I got that I understand is from Mario. Okay, you look at their social media, see how they talk. Okay, there you go. Okay. See how they talk on Facebook. You probably, unfortunately, you can't get access to their stuff necessarily on Facebook, Mario.
Who said so? Animal, there are ways around it.
Okay, I don't know those ways. Okay, what about this? Just the idea of a structured versus a conversational interview. This guy was saying, oh yeah, he says classic. If you ask the classic interview questions, you're just going to get the canned prepared answers because the person knows that's a standard question. He said, so you have to make it a conversational interview so that lets the candidate's guard down, and you'll find out you'll get more real, authentic answers. But there's if you don't ask the same questions of every candidate, how are you going to measure them against each other? Conversation is a little too loose. Does anybody know how to reconcile those two issues?
You do both. It's not rocket science. You do both. You weave the conversational bits in between the standard questions.
But you know what I always thought was a good approach that not a whole lot of people face is that nowadays when you interview with somebody, you interview about 20 people, 10 people, or whatever, 5. You have your panel of people. So what you should do is really, if you're the hiring manager, know what you need for the job. And then the people you've chosen to be part of that panel, tell them as a hiring manager what information you expect that they get out of it. In other words, the CFO, what does CFO has to do if I hire this new production manager? What does the general manager have to do? What does the supervisor have to do? And the information they need to get, but you need to give them some direction.
Yeah, I don't know where you're headed with this, especially with a panel interview, which you specified. They all have to have the same question, so they're not falling over each other, don't they? Or
well, there's different ways of structuring it, and usually what I found is that most of them don't do panel interviews unless it's like the lower level.
No, most people don't like panel interviews.
No, but I mean, most people will be taken through a series of interviews throughout the day, like 3 or 4 people. And
okay, Donna said, it might be rocket science for me, but not for the average person. They can ask their structured question.
Yeah.
And then as they talk, they've supposedly got enough time to go into wherever. David and Marr, you want to talk about that? Do I have to keep checking on you? Or can you, just say, hey, I want to say something?
Show your face, David. Show your face, David.
He doesn't have to show his face, although he was very good on the last.
He did a present. He did. Hey, don't. See, look at that ceiling.
David, you're like these underwater commandos, you know?
Okay.
You try and see half of their face above water.
Okay. Okay. That's Donna's the only one who's gonna survive
But
the
David
edit
was
on
gonna
that
say
one.
something.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that. I'll chime in when I want to say something.
Okay, good.
Hey,
Ouch.
you know the thing about it is you cannot make the assumption that people know how to interview. Because
That's
most
true,
people
too.
don't know how to interview.
We've talked about that here before, but for instance, Rich and
Well-
everybody else says you can't teach anybody either because
No,
they'll get
but
insulted.
it's usually the hiring manager. They have to do that.
Well, so
for
you've
the
changed your
organization.
tune now. The recruiter should approach the hiring manager and say, look, I got some tips for you. So I know you do a good job on this
Yes, they
candidate.
should.
Is that what
On
you're
corp-
saying? What?
Well,
On the corporate side, a lot of hiring managers desperately need interviewing training, especially if they haven't been a manager before. A lot
Yeah.
of the botched interviews and problems and complications that happen are directly because people don't have proper training in how to interview candidates.
and when you say proper interview, do you mean what not to say and what to say?
Correct. So you're avoiding, and so it's fair and equitable process versus
We're not talking about that kind of stuff like avoiding sexist or, biased questions. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about questions that draw out the required information about whether this person can do the job.
Correct,
And whether
but
they've got the right
one
temperament
thing
to
that's
do it.
important when you're interviewing candidates is to have the same interviewing process that everybody goes through, so you can be able to assess the candidates correctly. What a lot of hiring managers do is they'll interview one candidate one way and have some totally random interviewing questions and then use a totally different set of questions on the next
Exactly.
candidate.
And that's what the
That's not good.
conversational approach, that's the danger of
Yeah.
the conversational approach, isn't it? Isn't that
Yeah,
what I
that's-
said?
That is not the way to go. That's
And
not.
that's not what you said.
Well, what about a mixed dance like Donna was saying, some creativity and some standard anchors.
But I still think you can have that built in if you want creativity. The build exercise that shows that.
Okay. Here's another interview. I'm going on this interview kick. Okay. This guy, Jeff, said when the candidate doesn't seem right in the interview, you say to him or her, here's what I'm not hearing from you that is important in this job. Okay. And he says that's a good, small, not offensive prod to get the person on track or to tell you, quite frankly, that they're not qualified. Here's what I'm not hearing from you that's important in this job. Anybody like that one?
I like
I
it.
like it.
Yeah, and then you followed up with, can you talk to that?
Right. As
And
long
then-
as you're giving them a chance to give you the information.
But in reality, what happens is like a lot of times when you do have multiple people interviewing and say that the top dog is at the end, that rather than present you to the top dog, they just say he's not available. So you don't see it. You don't see the last interviewer, and that's the way of getting rid of him. But you're right. I think that's a good way. And a lot of people try to.
Okay, so
They
you're
try- they
saying
try-
this is really just a way to get rid of the person, to have the person disqualify herself rather
Yeah.
than actually give her an opportunity to show. You say you're really going to start using it when the person's on their way out already.
Well,
I guess that makes sense too, because you're telling them, I'm not hearing that you're right for the job.
Well, what happens is in interviews, people don't understand the fact that when you're interviewing because there's a position open because there's a problem. And if you're hired, you're supposedly going to fix that problem. And people go in with the intention of selling themselves. And they get all nervous and they start selling themselves. What they need to do is they need to find what are the problems and then talk their background to those problems. Like I can fix this for you if you hire me. And
Well,
have
then the
that-
interviewer should supply the problem. Say, this is what our problems are. What
Yeah,
can
but
you do about it?
sometimes they'll ask questions and they'll ask behavioral questions or they'll ask this kind of question. And if they're not trained properly, they won't get to that. And a lot of times those interviews will lead to, hey, what do you think of the 49ers? And what do you think of the Bears? And they go off in different directions for.
You're supposed to do
sports.
that to build rapport or
Well,
say,
you-
hey, what
you-
high school did you go to?
Yeah. I mean, those kind of things sometimes take up 30 minutes of the interview. And then later on, when they're all together and they say, so what did you learn? And then they say, well, I don't think he's qualified. Well, hell, you didn't talk to him about.
See, that's if you have prepared questions, that makes sure that you get to
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
issues.
No, that's
Anybody
true.
else want to still address that? But you made a point when you asked that question, there's a problem, okay? And that's the odds are the person is on his or her way out. Anybody else going once, going twice? Okay.
I like the idea. I want to say one thing, what Ernie made me think of. It really is for the person who's being interviewed to think of it as not selling themselves in a bad way, but as sales. And when they're interviewing, listening and identifying what's the problem in this company, like you said, that I'm going to try to solve. How can I solve it? But training that person who's so nervous and on the spot to be listening that way, I think that takes a lot of confidence.
Well, you know, one of the things I tell people is that as you're in the middle of the interview, and this is my prepping for some of my candidates, I go ask them, if I were to get this job, what would be 3 things you'd expect me to do or accomplish within 30 days or 90 days that would let you know that you made the right hire? And then you keep quiet until they give you the 3 things. And when they give you those 3 things, then talk your background where appropriate to those 3 things.
Okay,
that
now
way-
the recruiter could actually get involved there and ask the hiring manager for that.
Well,
to
that's
tell me,
Animal,
and
that
then I
won't
can
work,
tell it.
Animal.
at the,
No, it won't work.
well, at the beginning,
hi-
excuse me, Mario,
No, sorry.
at the beginning of the interview, the hiring, and you're
Intake
getting the
session.
job order, you're asking the question to the hiring manager, what are the essentials that you want?
Okay, but when they pose it like that, when you see the hiring manager, the candidate can come in and say, what's your 30, 60, 90 targets, right? And the hiring manager might not have thought of it, might not have articulated it that way, and really can't come up with it in the interview. But if you ask the hiring manager in the intake session, she might tell you, or she'll have to think about it and say,
Have to
well,
think
think
it
about
through.
that before we
Well,
get to the interview. And because the candidate, I usually
Except too, that is somewhat narrowing the thing, because you're talking to the hiring manager. Later on, when you have the interviews, there's going to be multiple people interviewing you, and each one will have a different take. Like the HR manager will be a lot different as to what they're looking for from you than the production manager. Or
should the recruiter then make sure that she gets a chance to speak to everybody in the hiring process?
Right. I
Now,
mean,
if you're inside like Donna or Dave, then you might have easy access. Whereas,
Yeah, I couldn't have done that in the agency. I mean, I was limited. We got as much of that information as possible, but I certainly
Right.
couldn't go back and keep calling people.
no, and you can't do it, but that's why you get the candidate to ask those questions,
Mhm.
because all of a sudden, each one for a different reason will like this candidate.
Yep.
And then at the end of the interview, you have, when the candidate is talking to the hiring manager, usually at the end, you'll ask them, is there any reason, given our interview today, that you would think I am not qualified for this position? And then keep quiet and let them answer. And if they give you a reason, they'll either say yes, or we don't think you're qualified because, and then you have one last chance to rebut it and say what you're going to say.
okay,
Yeah,
I
we
saw someone,
advise
go
the
ahead,
same way.
go ahead, Donna. Go
I
ahead.
would say
you
we
were-
advise the same way, but also what Ernie's saying, when I was on the agency side, I would tell them to ask those same questions to each person that interviewed them, because that's also going to be very revealing to how cohesive things are. If they're getting a different answer from every person they interview with, like, how will I know I'm doing a good job? What are going to be the things where you've made a good hire? And if they're hearing a different thing everywhere, it just lets them know what they're walking into. As opposed to the ones that are just rock solid, here's what we're looking for. They can know, are they in some place very buttoned up or someplace where the hair's on fire? It's very telling.
And the other thing you cannot assume is that they read your resume. Because for most times I remember doing interviews where I'm going, crap, where's the resume? This person's coming in and I'm
Okay,
looking.
now
at
I
the
read an
resume.
article and I have it here. Somebody said, look, if the recruiter's done her job or his job and screened the candidate properly, the hiring manager doesn't even need a resume. He can assume the education and the experience is there and just jump into a discussion about the skills needed. And everybody said that was absurd. It was crazy to think that way. Anybody
Well,
agree that
I
what do you
think-
go ahead?
That's why
Ernie.
that's why you have that universally hated question. Tell me about yourself. because I would always ask that question as I'm scrambling through the resume, because I'm going, tell me about yourself. And I'm looking at the resume saying, what the hell? You know, who is this guy? Who is this gal? I don't have no idea.
I do think it's the recruiter's job to screen, and we screened agency, or I'll do it here for everything, you know, to make sure that they have all the credentials, that everything is in line. So in theory, sure, they should be able to do that. I mean, I think best practices would be that they read it over anyway, but I mean, they should be able to go without it, I think.
But Donna, how many times has the person on the phone been a completely different person than the person that showed up? And people say, you know, he did a good phone, did a good phone conversation, but the interview in person was just totally out of it.
I don't know. That's a good question. I
haven't experienced that. Sorry.
Well, that happens often, Animal.
Mario,
especially
let
with software
Mario
roles.
go in there. Let Mario, I want to hear what he's going. We'll come back to you, Donna. Mario, say your piece.
That happens often with software roles. In fact, there are some groups, okay, where companies in India offer to interview on the phone.
Okay, that's a different story with the fake interviews, right?
That's a fake interview. That's what happens, right? And that's what normally happens.
That's not what Ernie was talking about. He's talking about the same person
being uncomfortable in person, right?
I'm saying if you did it on the up and up, sometimes the person on the phone can do it very well, and he's impressed the recruiter, whatever. They bring him forward and they say, okay, the resume looks good. And then when they show up,
I'm wondering why. What is there about the in-person interview that's different? They're nervous?
Pressure.
I can think of one time we had one candidate that happened with on the agency side, and I don't know. I would always try to explore later with the hiring managers, because we sent her to various places, and she did great on the phone, but never did great in person. But I could never figure out what the disconnect was, so I don't know. But it was rare.
It might be pressure.
There can be a variety of reasons, and one of them could be the way they come in dressed. I mean, or how they're acting, or they just notice something about them. I mean, it just
have an RBF.
And you know what I used to do too was I would tell the security guard and I would tell the receptionist deliberately. I would tell the receptionist, I said, I'm going to be a few minutes late, even if I wasn't. And then I'd wait for the candidate's reaction. And then when they'd come in, I would then ask the receptionist and the security guard, how did they treat you? And if
that's called the dirtbag interview, but that's your way
it's not the dirtbag interview. It's the interview that lets you know, do they
okay, well, that's maybe I can't remember if you came in during that conversation. How do you determine if the person's temperamental? Well, that's now Ernie's finally revealed the way.
I'm a little slow.
Well, me too, because I'm calling you Bernie all the time now instead of Bernie. Okay.
You don't know how many people have called me Bernie.
Okay. Okay. But what about this? You know how people are always saying that, you can see somebody who's really great in an interview, but when you hire them, they can't do the job. This person posted, he said, look, if a person makes it to the interview, they've gone through the recruiter, they've got the education skills and experience needed. And so really it's the person who does well in the interview who's going to work out best in the job. It's a good interviewer is also a good hire. You often hear the exact opposite.
Nope.
That's
utter bullshit.
Go ahead, elaborate. Prove what you're saying.
I have a very good example. We had a data engineer who was hired last March. He interviewed very well. He kicked ass throughout the interview. They called to offer him within 30 minutes of the interview finishing. All right. And that guy was one of the worst employees in the company. Okay. He was damn good technically, just that his attitude sucked. And I think the main problem was he was more of a higher grade data engineer than what we placed him for. So it was a government project. So, I don't think he was that happy about it. But he resigned within, I think.
He resigned. They didn't get rid of him.
No, they were trying to get rid of him. Before that itself, he resigned. So we had to refill the position, and we got another guy and refilled him.
Okay, did Mario make a mistake? Did you look back and say, somebody was posting, she said, whenever a search doesn't work out, she goes over every conversation to see where she went wrong. What were the red flags?
Two things. I would say they're trying to renegotiate him down on the salary. Number one.
You didn't mention that before.
No, I mean
Okay.
they tried in the last one during presenting the offer. Okay.
Okay.
So we had to renegotiate from 160K to 150K. No, 145K to be precise. 145K. Yeah. And the second thing was, I think he was a little too senior for the role. So his ambitions and
Well, didn't you
align with the
ask him,
company
say,
wanted.
listen, Satish, or whatever the guy's name
No,
is?
his name is because he's an awesome candidate though.
Okay, you're too good for this. Are you sure you're going to be happy here? You're too senior. I mean, it's
Yeah, but he was
obvious.
also desperate for a role at that point in time.
He was desperate for
And-
the money.
No,
He was
I think there's three things because one more thing to consider. He was in California in PST time zone and he had to work on EST time zone. So that could have been another issue for him. So
Why,
I was just,
why didn't you check these? It sounds like
I
recruiter
checked.
was
Listen.
fault
No, wait.
Mario,
You
you
checked
gotta
everything.
you gotta get better at being a recruiter,
No,
Mario.
okay, fine. I accept it. Okay. I'm cool with that. The thing is this. Listen, he knew everything before he was presented the offer. When you interviewed also, he knew he had to work in the EST time zone. He was okay with it. Maybe he tried, he thought he can give it a shot. It didn't work out. It happens.
You know, Mario, the classic is everybody's had that. If you've been in HR, the candidate you've hired that went to lunch and never came back. That's happened to more than one. If that's never happened to you, you've never been in HR.
Exactly. See, I'm okay with it. This is not the only one that I backed out. In fact, recently we had a candidate who joined and within 60 days he resigned. Because again, the company lowballed him on the offer. In December, he needed an offer, so he took it. This is the company's fault. And the best part is the company paid 1 day after the late period for the fee. Okay. So I don't owe them shit. And they called me and asked me for to replace the candidate. I told them, listen, I can do it for you, but your payment came 1 day post the invoice due date. I can offer you a discount on the replacement if you want.
You're a tough cookie. You're a
Oh,
tough
dude,
cookie.
I have to be.
He's not a client. The guy's not a client anymore.
Well, you want to
Well, they
keep him
still
as
owe
a
me another
client. So
payment, so they better
I
do
don't
it.
know why you wouldn't give him a break to keep him as a client.
Listen, I
David,
gave them a break. I offered to refill the position on a discount for them.
a
See,
discount,
I can't
not
be.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it should have been
I
a
can't
full
be refilling.
replacement.
Listen. Wait. Listen. I can't be doing. I'm doing business here. I'm not running a charity. Okay.
Okay.
They should know if they call by the book, then they should expect me to respond by the book, right? If they
Okay.
had paid the fee, I would happily refund it or even do replace the position. I'm okay with it. But if you're calling me by contract, as per the contract, he falls with this period. So can you please tell me the next steps to refund the cash? Excuse me, I'm so sorry. As per the contract, you paid me 1 day late. So good luck with that.
Okay.
Well, we're
David M. Marr, I am going to check with you. What about this? You're
Oh,
good.
shit, I
The
shouldn't have said
candidate's
that.
great in the interview. Does that mean she's going to be great in the job, or does that really increase the likelihood? I think so. What about you?
I think if you design your interviewing structure correctly, you will find if a candidate interviews well, they'll do well and be a good fit for your company. If you have a fly by the seat of your pants interviewing approach, it's a coin toss.
You
But
know,
I do
it's so
think-
general. Okay, I'm sorry. Donna's taken a beating on this with the conversational interview that she kind of likes.
What?
Okay.
I said I like a mix. I did not say
Okay, yeah,
conversational.
okay,
Did you
okay.
forget?
But,
Did you
but
forget?
hold on a second. Hold on a second, David M. Marr. What does that mean? I don't like high level stuff. I like if you don't ask, look at with
Yes.
Mario. Mario actually did ask the right questions. Is this money going to be okay? It's less than you were earning before. What about the time zone? Oh, it's no problem. No problem. It's because you might have had a
Hey.
suspicion that the guy was desperate and he was lying
Animal,
head off,
excuse me.
right?
I didn't recruit on that position. My recruiter recruited. I just closed the deal. That's it.
Okay. Okay. So what are you saying, David M. Marr, that you're missing some important questions?
I'm saying that you need to design your interviewing structure so you have the necessary data points that you'll know whether the candidates are fit or not.
I could never work internal with that kind of jargon, mumbo jumbo.
Not jargon.
he's
But
big.
you're-
He's working for a big company though. That's what you
It's
gotta learn how to-
data-driven.
You gotta learn how to talk
If
like
you
that.
work for a small shop, right, it's going to be more willy-nilly. But if you work for large environments, things have to be structured and designed and engineered and architected.
Yeah, well, we don't
It's
know
not
what you're
just-
meaning. Like, that might
Well,
go in
different
an
teams-
interview.
different
David, excuse me, David. I bet you had a bunch of interview questionnaires, right? That was standard throughout the process, correct?
Well,
Considering a big company.
yes, there were standard things that were
Mm,
that you would like understand about where their current salary is, what they were looking for, sponsorship, of course.
Yeah,
their work
this is going nowhere. We can't pull teeth out of you, okay? Next question. Or does anybody else have a topic they want to
Yeah,
talk about?
I have a very good question. Okay,
Go
and
ahead.
this may not relate to recruiting, but let me just think it out. Okay, when you sound distinguished on the phone, does it make you a better recruiter?
Well,
Yeah.
Mario,
Yeah,
I think it would, Mario.
We
if it-
call that gravitas. Gravitas.
Yeah.
It's one of the important parts of a big salesperson.
So
I
does
have
it
no
make you
gravitas.
successful just because you sound distinguished on the phone?
That's
Give
the
Give
people.
us, give
in
us
person?
an example, Mario. Give us a
Well,
distinguished.
my
one.
wife, I was telling my wife that I sound very distinguished on the phone, and she said, "You're far from distinguished."
So how would you change your voice to sound distinguished, Mario?
No,
Give an
I
example.
talk like this on the phone. I just
Do
talk
a
the way I talk.
distinguished interpretation, Mario. How would you do that?
Hey, Ernie, listen. This is how I talk when I'm trying to be distinguished.
Okay, I
That's not
can. There's a guy. I can't remember his name. He's a young guy, a lawyer.
I may
in
need
the
training. Yeah.
Let me just say, in the United, he's on Facebook and he's got lots of shorts and he tells you how to communicate and he's not bad. I hate it when there's somebody like half my age teaching me. Okay, but it's
No.
true. He says the first thing you do if you want to have gravitas, and first of all, let me say what Ernie always says: talk to these guys just like you're their friend, like they're an equal. So I agree with that. Okay, don't try to be superior. But this guy says as well, first thing to do is take out all the okays. Like I say okay 100 times every show.
all
Okay,
right.
take that out. Take out all the ums. It takes some practice. He said, just pause, just like you did. You did that spontaneously. I noticed when Ernie said, try to sound a little respectable, you slowed down and you sort of left pauses between the times you're
Yeah.
talking. So you don't try to fill it up with ums and ahs.
That's my
and
sexy
looking at-
voice, you know.
I didn't mean to laugh that loud, Mario. I'm sorry.
You gotta use your James
That's
Bond
cool, sounds
voice.
cool.
You gotta use your James Bond voice.
I am more of a, what do you say? The Billions guy. I prefer him to James Bond. He's
But we
more
know that
ruthless.
we know that Ernie has gravitas because
Yeah.
we feel threatened by it all the time. You know,
Not
he
threatened,
says,
impressed, more like
I
it.
want to tell you, I'm not satisfied. What is it? What did you say? He's got some classic lines where he raises
Ernie
his
is
hands like
unhappy.
this. Yeah,
He's
That's
like
it,
the
that's
Don.
I'm not
Ernie is unhappy.
I'm
I'm
not
unhappy.
happy. I'm not happy. What can we do to make me happy?
Yeah, what can
Jesus
we do to make
Christ.
Ernie?
I won't be surprised if he has two guys with shotguns on trained on us.
You know, go to the door right now. Look out
Anybody
the
else got an
window.
issue or question?
Okay.
I'm going to bring that guy's name next time. But
Please do, Animal.
remember that thing.
My question here is this. Could this impact how successful you are in life
I believe,
in the
yeah,
sense
sure.
of running a business? Now look
Yeah.
at Rich, how Rich talks. He's one of the most successful recruiters we know. He's as
Okay.
chilled out as hell.
Yeah. Well, there
And he
you go.
talks to CEOs the
Good
same
point.
way. And that's what I'm asking you. I just had this discussion with my wife today while driving with her. And I was so furious. I decided, I'm going to screw your happiness, my dear.
But
I'm going to get backup information and come to argue this point. Now I'm going to go back and talk.
but
I don't think distinguished is the right word, though. I
It's-
mean, you need to sound confident. You need to sound like you know what you're talking about. You need to be able to make a connection. You need the person to trust you and to think that you have something that they want. And so maybe that comes with being distinguished. Maybe it comes with being a little silly and telling jokes, or maybe it comes with just being scary in a subtle way, like Ernie. I don't know.
Well,
mean,
there-
I don't joke a
but
lot, so.
But there are times when you're not.
There's Rich.
You're not going to.
Speak of the devil, enter the
Rosen.
man.
He's,
Sorry, Ernie, please continue.
I like the way I was going to say Rich changes like a dog. No, but
There
you
you
have to understand that sometimes no matter what you do, you cannot connect with somebody
Yeah.
unless you're Rich Rosen.
There you go.
Rich, now I got to ask you a question, Rich. Tell me
Yeah.
something, okay? Does sounding distinguished generally make you more successful as a recruiter?
The sounding distinguished make you sound
Yeah.
more successful as a recruiter. I don't know,
Or
distinguished.
as a businessman?
I just think sounding confident makes you more successful.
Ding, ding,
Okay.
ding, ding,
There
ding,
you
ding.
go.
My wife is going to get it today night. I'm going to tell her. The man who makes $1 million told me you don't need to sound distinguished. I will beat it.
So now you're gonna make the mistake of sounding confident with your wife. Okay, that'll.
Oh, yeah.
There you
Dude,
go.
my wife calls me arrogant all the time. Okay. And I'm like, thank you. I wear it as a badge of honor.
She calls you what now?
She calls me arrogant all the time. She doesn't know the real
Arrogant.
meaning of arrogance. Okay,
I thought
Michael
it was-
Jordan was
I thought he
considered
said
arrogant.
adequate.
Adequate. Yeah, she says that also.
You are-
Exactly.
Okay,
I
now
don't mind.
I want to point out what Rich is talking about, because I analyze for myself his behavior here, and what he means by confident, he is not afraid of you. Okay, he's not afraid to lose your business. He's not afraid if you want to tell him to go fly a kite. You know, he says if you don't look, he's not afraid to say, look, I need a signed fee agreement, okay? Because I don't know if you're going to pay me if I don't have that. It takes guts to say it so bluntly.
Yeah.
But the other thing I'll point out, he never, he's always lighthearted. Yeah, okay, look, you don't want to do business with me, fine. We'll meet again another day. He doesn't get upset. He doesn't show if he's offended.
Yeah.
Do you have any rage moments, Rich? Do you
Oh,
get
dude, all the time. I mean, I never, I never get these rage moments with clients unless they're not paying me. But even I always say you can't make money till you can walk away from money, and you just have to. You can't work on bad jobs. That's what costs you money. You make a lot of money because you work on things that actually are going to come to fruition. You work with clients that actually want your business and want your partnership. If you're just a vendor, good luck.
And with that, you keep in close communication with them. You're not afraid to talk things through. If
Yeah.
you don't have, if you could have a job order and you don't have any candidates, you better go in and just confess. I have.
Well, that's it. And you tell them, listen, I can send you all the candidates you want, or I could just send you the right candidates. Which do you want to see? If you want to just be busy and practice interviewing skills, fantastic. But if you want to just see quality candidates, then awesome. Like I literally just had this conversation this morning with a client because we were like literally going to lose a deal for $15,000. You know, it's nothing for a guy that's going to bring in $1 million in revenue. And we literally just had this conversation. I was telling him, I mean, listen, you're a startup company. You've got you're a 17-person company. How many people do you think want to go to a 17-person company in a crowded space in this particular market? Don't lose a rock star for 15 grand. And it was, basically got him over the hurdle to understand the reality.
Could you advise Mario, before you came, he had a guy who there's a few factors. The guy did great in the interview, but it was a more junior position than when he was qualified for. And so they lowballed him. He was making 160 before, they gave him 150, and they lost him within a month. Okay. What would you have said to them?
To the client, I would, if this guy's bringing value, I would never. I mean, obviously, I'd never advise to lowball anyone, but you want to bring people on that you're investing in. If you don't want to invest in this person, then don't hire him.
Mario, does that help?
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's what we decided going forward, right? We're not lowball candidates.
Not going forward, before they actually hire the guy. Say,
See,
you know what, this
there are
150
two
is
things.
not going to fly.
Listen, the company is actually 145. Okay. The scenario was they need to fill the role immediately to win a project with the government. Okay. So they needed a candidate. So they pulled him in immediately. So it was kind of a rushed interview on their side. As I think Ernie said, when you're trying
You had them over a
not
barrel.
Ernie.
You were in a good position to
I had them not over a barrel. I had them over my crosshairs for that position. Okay.
And
I pulled the trigger.
But
So
go ahead.
please go ahead, Rich.
No, I want Rich to go ahead and tell us how he would have saved that or walked away from it. Okay.
You can't save that position because I replaced the candidate on the position for free. Okay. But the guy himself didn't want to work with them going forward. So there's nothing you can do about
Yeah, but
it.
one of the factors was the money. Okay. And that's what we're pointing at.
So
You told us that was one of the things.
Did the guy started working or he never took the job?
He started working. He worked for almost a month. But
Yeah.
what happened is he started missing out on meetings. He started sleeping in because it was the PST and EST time zone. He was in the PST time zone and he had to work in the EST time zone.
Yeah, that's a
That's
bullshit.
tough.
That's
Yeah,
not
that's a
a-
bullshit.
But
Yeah.
if you're the type and you really think about it, you're the candidate, and you need money to pay bills. And they offer you a job, and the job pays for the bills for this month. I get still job orders. I got offers coming in later on, and I can change.
That's why you don't
Exactly.
lowball.
And that's what Rich is getting to, is the fact that, hey, it's just the fact that you hired him and you think you made a win here. It's not.
It's
final.
it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot. It's just
See,
Guys,
I didn't want to go back and lowball the guy. Okay, I didn't want to negotiate on
no, but
145.
listen, you took a gamble. The end of the day is, listen, who knows? It could have worked out. Chances are it wasn't, and it didn't. But
Rich, how hard would you have pushed back on the company?
I would have, if it's a significant lowball offer, I would say, listen, if you can make the offer, it doesn't work out, I'm not replacing. Because
that's a good one. That's a good one.
Because I think it's wrong. I think you're going to get burnt in the end, and you're just wasting money. Either you want the guy or you don't want the guy. But go and you tell him, just like you said, he's still got other interviews going on. What do you think happens next week when he gets 2 more offers in for $20,000 more than you just paid him?
So we can either do one thing. You can either lowball him. I'm not going to guarantee the pay, or we can raise his pay, or we can just forget about it and we'll find you somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, either pay him fair or don't pay him at all, because I don't give back money, and I'm not going to redo the search because of your stupidity. I mean, I've had I've had this client conversation with clients before. I told him not to hire my guy, and the VP of sales thought he was a big tough guy, was going to prove me wrong. He hired the guy. The guy got fired less than 30 days later, and the VP of sales got fired as well for being a jackass, because I was friends with the CEO and I got to replace both of them. It worked out well for me.
Okay, but hold on. I want to come back to what Donna was saying. You know what you're talking about. You sound like you know what you're talking about there when you give them that advice. Did you actually say, I'm not going to lose money because of your stupidity?
I didn't say those exact words. I said,
I'm asking.
How do you phrase it, Rich?
I mean,
Tell me how you phrase it.
In all honesty, I probably have said those words at some point to someone, but I have said, I'm not going to replace someone for your ridiculous offer or for this. I mean, I asked the guy himself, why would someone take this job?
Due to your lack of intelligence.
Yeah, but also this job.
I mean, it is, yeah.
when he just told us this job meant a lot of money to the company. They needed that person to get the deal,
Not
right?
just that guy. It was like
But a lot of times they don't listen. The egos get in the way.
Yeah, and the problem was, it was a recruiter who was the lead recruiter who was negotiating on behalf of the company.
So Danny Cahill gave me a good line just the other day that I was using with my client was, it's investment before objective, and it's a great line, because I always say, sales especially is an investment in your company. Without sales, you have nothing going on. So that's not the place you want to cut. You want to cut, especially on your first few hires. But you can't expect an objective. You can't expect to have this big win before you make the investment. And that's how that, with your company there too, who's got this money in their hand, they've got to make an investment in this person. And if it was a valuable role, they would have. Sounds like it was just like a token role they needed filled to check the box.
Yeah, this is for a government project, right? So they need a couple of people on board to get the project. So it works that way.
Okay, Rich, I'll just give the proof, because he told someone this week that this guy said a big player in our niche. He's a recruiter. He says a big player in our niche got in touch with us for a search. We didn't go after them.
Oh yeah.
They got in touch with us. My partner sent them a contract 2 weeks ago, and now they're sending us a request. Where's the candidates? And they haven't signed the contract yet. What should I do? Okay. They said the hiring manager is blaming the procurement team. But I don't want, he says the contract is under review with our procurement team, but please don't let that make you hold back on your search. What would you say to them?
I would say, great, come here, install your software into my office, and listen, don't worry, I'll pay you, it's on procurement, don't worry.
Beautiful. I will use it. Is this how we do business in the future?
Yeah, I mean, that's a sucker's bet. All right. So now let me get this straight. You send your candidate in. Oh my God, this guy's great. Let's hire him. Hey, we're going to give you 10%. Okay,
yeah.
We got no contract, so what the hell?
Right. Yeah, they'll try that.
You can put on your emails every time, hey, if you hire this guy, this is going to be, and you could fight that in court, but do you really want to do that? And do you really want to work with a company that can't do it? Like I've got a big client right now, one of my few big companies. It's literally taken them 2.5 months to get the contract back. The guy kept calling me to work on the search. I was like, great, when the contract comes back,
Do Do they
Today, this afternoon, I actually have the call to actually get the actual job description finally.
do they change the terms of your contract?
I changed them, and that's what took so long to get it approved. It's like a Fortune 500 company.
Uh-huh.
But otherwise, it's their contracts with 17 pages of stupidity.
You told us Fortune 500s are the worst.
They are. I mean, this like, and this company I'm working with, it's like the complete opposite of what I normally work with. Like I've done enough. They acquired a couple of my clients, which is why I work with them. But they're just like, everything is slow. There's no urgency. You could, if you died, you'd still get paid for 6 months probably. I mean, it's just like, I don't get it, but some people like it, especially in this market. So who am I to turn down, a $37,000 fee, $40,000 fee?
But going back to that question about when can I expect any clients, any candidates?
Yeah.
Your response should probably be, when should I expect my contract to be signed?
Yeah,
I mean,
normally.
it's just simple. It's simple enough to tell these guys, even no matter what part of the company you're working in, do you think your company would install anything, do any kind of work for company X or for my company without any kind of agreement? And what's it going to say?
Well, the thing is too, is if you get into specifics, so like, when should I expect my client? When should I expect my contract? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, I give you that same answer. I don't know when I'll give you a client.
Yeah.
A
Well,
candidate.
you can also say it this way too. It's like, I mean, in all honesty, like, Ernie, would you really expect me to prioritize your opportunity when I have no contract, no terms, no anything for my 15 other clients that I know are paying me 25, 30% and respond back in an instant?
Yeah.
And then you say, listen, I know it's not you. If you were writing the check, I'd totally be on top of it. But you're
Hey,
not writing the check.
This goes back, Animal. This goes back to your original thing about Rich and him saying that he's fearful and it makes him successful. And you're saying it doesn't motivate you, it paralyzes you. So the guy who wrote the question, like, what do I do? They want me to see candidates. That's the person that's fearful of the wrong thing. And so he's immobilized and doesn't know, just tell him what Rich said. So Rich's fear is not in his interactions with people, is not in how he does the job. He's got every confidence there. It's just that fear of not letting it all slip away and go away.
My fear is literally wasting time. That's literally my biggest
Maybe
fear.
that's the answer right there. Is the fear is not, what should I do? The
It's a
fear
good
is-
line.
Hey, hold on one second. Hold on one second, guys. Listen. On one of Rich's previous interviews that he had on the Recruiting Animals show, he mentioned that he was full of fear. Yes
Yeah.
or no, Rich? I remember those
I am full of
interviews.
fear.
He doesn't deny it. That's why we mentioned it.
Yeah, I listen. I live in a fear of failure.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're not. But as Donna was saying, you're not afraid to walk away from an opportunity. This guy was afraid he was going to lose this opportunity, and you don't give a shit. Okay.
But that guy who wrote that is the same idiot that's going to take this fee for 10% because he's like, I don't want to lose the business. Oh my god. And instead but he doesn't realize the opportunity cost. So now you're working on this dumpster fire fee for 10% instead of working and getting a fee for 20, 25%, 30%.
Okay, maybe he doesn't have 15 other orders like you do, though. Okay.
And then on top of it, you're asking advice from people who you don't even know their background.
Yeah.
Someone say, well, you should go for it. Well, you should
It's
go
like
for it. You
the
should do
same
this.
idiots who keep saying send blind resumes. That never work.
That's
Oh
what
yeah,
some
I
people
know who
said.
said that. Rich.
Some people said
Wait,
send
wait,
blind
I was
resumes.
laughing.
and-
See that? No, the problem. Listen, guys, listen. You need to understand.
What?
The guy who spoke works in India, so the game is a bit different in India. Okay, when compared to the US. So here
was
they
he
do
in
send
India?
blind resumes. Yeah, the guy is based out of Gene Vikram, if I'm correct. Yeah, he works from India.
Okay.
So there are certain differences. So they answer without understanding the context of the question.
The one
Yeah,
that cracked me up, cracked me up from Rich was, what was it that you said that the guy was lame?
I'm usually very nice, so I don't know.
No, it was like somebody working like having work-life balance, and then Rich said something.
Oh
about-
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Rich, that's a very nice post. Hey, seriously.
Because you're lame.
Fill me in. I don't know what you're talking about.
Some guy posted about like what was it? The guy was like, it's impossible to you can't be a big biller and have like a work-life balance or
I
whatever.
posted that.
Yeah.
Some idiot
Well, I
posted.
posted someone else said it, right? Yeah.
It was another idiot that said it.
Yeah, look just like it. No, yeah.
Table sticks.
But
Well, hold
See,
on.
the first thing, the first
okay,
thing he
guys,
writes is
I
just
realized
plain.
something. Guys, listen, I realized something. Okay, recently, and maybe I may be wrong, but the ability to prioritize is the difference between a successful person and a non-successful person.
That's lame. That's lame.
Yeah.
Why?
Okay.
Maybe I
But
said it, I may be wrong.
Tom, we've had Tom Alessio on this show, Alassio on this show a few times. The guy's hyper, okay? He is driven, and yet he didn't agree with Rich. He says, I'm not going to sit in front of the TV making lists for tomorrow. I want to go out and play baseball or go on my boat or something like
He's
that.
also
He
got
says,
a team too. Big difference.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. Well, you do too. You've got your virtual assistant, right?
Yeah,
Doing a
big
lot of that
15
work
hours
for
a
you.
week guy. Yeah.
So let me come back if you got a little time, Rich. I'm going to bounce some of the questions we discussed at length to see what the guy with the gravitas and
Start
the
with
classic.
lame. It's
Yeah,
lame.
please let me know.
Okay, classic interview. This guy says, don't ask standard interview questions. Have a conversational interview. Okay. Well, we said, look, if you have a conversational interview, you might ask a bunch of different questions from all the different candidates. Then there's no way to grade them against each other. Donna came up with a fence sitting. She says, well, you can have both. You can have.
It's
a hybrid.
accurate. It's
A hybrid.
accurate. It is not a fence.
I agree with Don. You can have both. Like I
Ding,
asked.
ding, 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 ding.
I
Once
mean-
again.
There you go. See, yeah, but you know who? Like one of my trainers when I first started recruiting was a teacher too. So there you go. But you can because you can you're asking the basic questions. Why'd you move? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? But while you're doing that, you just throw out different conversational points while you're typing stuff in and have a conversation. Just say, well, it's like it'd be like you always talk about. Somehow you work in like kids' college or whatever stuff.
No. We're not talking about that stuff.
Yes. No, listen. And then, you start working in as you're just having a conversation. It's amazing what stuff actually comes out about their personality, about how they, in my case, how they sell, how do they build stuff. And then you're still just working in questions like, oh, how'd you do that? How'd you meet this person? How'd you do this? Like, because I can tell you, I often think I don't ask great questions either. And then I look at my notes and I'm like, oh, I do have a ton of information on these people.
That's the key. You know what you want to find out when you're done.
Yeah.
So maybe the point is, what information do you want to make sure you have gathered as opposed to how did you get there? But what do you need to know when you're done?
And that's the thing. I mean, this job, it's really like speed dating. You can figure this thing out, these people out in minutes, if they're really worthwhile or not. We're not the
Have
one
you
making
been-
the hiring decision. We're
Yeah,
Okay,
just
that's the last question. I only booked this.
I have a question. I have a follow-up
Okay,
question.
go
But
ahead.
how come most of the recruiters get divorced if this job is like speed dating?
know,
You
is
figure
that
out the
true?
person. Yes.
He didn't
True, I
say
don't know.
long-term marriage. He said speed dating. There
Exactly.
you
Rich
go.
has been married.
Exactly.
Rich has been married forever. If I'm
Exactly.
I
not
was not talking about
mistaken.
Rich. Generally, I said other
Did
recruiters.
you want to tell us?
So Ernie has two.
What?
Me too.
And Donna's been married for a very long time as well.
Mhm.
Hold on a second before we. I don't know if I booked it for like an hour and 15 minutes. So I don't know if it runs out of time at the end. It still says it's recording, but now I forget. Oh yeah, but the other question, Rich, that you just touched upon as well was how do you know if you're somebody is good in the interview, very pleasant, you really are charmed by the person. How do you know that once they get in the company, they're not going to be this kind of vituperative person if you start talking about
I'm not even
Trump?
sure what that means. But
Nasty, temperamental.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
you
listen,
say,
the only way you can tell, and you're never 100% sure. People are nuts, but you just know how these people handle your questions. Do they get all offended? Are they going to, bent out of shape if you make them send a resume before they know who the client is? Yeah, it's just those little tells. Like, did they not, like people that will never call me after the interview despite explicitly telling them to. All right, it's a little tell. Maybe this guy's a pain in the ass, candidly. Sometimes they're busy, but it's how, once you get them on the phone, do they actually answer your questions? Or are they just like, I don't need to tell you this shit.
so you think from those little tells, as you're saying, that's the person reveals himself in some small
I'm the guy
ways.
trying to help this guy out. He doesn't want to give any respect to me. I don't need him to kiss my ring. I need him just to.
You're not trying to help him out. You're trying to help yourself out with the company. That's what.
But I'm trying to help myself out by helping him out. I mean, that's like saying
It's a win-win.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wins if we win together. But if he doesn't want to give me any assistance when he knows, I know the keys to where the secrets are and how to get past these interviews.
Okay, so you're saying that from your conversations, and I don't think you have hour-long interviews, 20 minutes or something like that?
Yeah.
How long are they?
Like
20?
15, 20 minutes usually.
Okay, 15 minutes. Okay, but
Maybe,
you can
maybe.
tell that if something goes wrong in the company, once this person is an employee, and this person's going to have a fit, and get really moody and all kind, you can tell in advance.
I don't know if listen. I don't generally send those people in. I had a guy 2 weeks ago.
How do you know?
Because just what I just said. We get to Alzheimer's. What he just said. Exactly the reason. If like this,
You discovered the truth about me just from this little conversation.
But if they're difficult to deal with me, and I'm the one trying to help them for free, how do you think they're going to be when someone's actually telling them what to do? Hey, listen,
Maybe you should say, like, while you're having that freewheeling conversation, what do you think about Trump and that hooker? Okay.
Sometimes they do.
Well, that's the point. You're trying to find out what's going to happen if there's a political conversation in the office, if they're going to be nasty.
That's a different story. But I talk politics all the time. But most of my guys are like more Republican because they're sales guys and they just want to make money. But
you talk politics with your candidates
all the time. Yeah.
Oh, really? And what about with the clients?
Sometimes, yeah. If I'm wants to talk about anything, I don't care.
Wow.
It just makes you real. It makes you human.
There goes distinguished conversation.
Even the guys that don't agree, they respect that you actually have an opinion.
Yeah.
These people seem so hateful now.
You just don't go crazy on it.
Well, yeah, but you can't. You just say, oh, listen, we'll agree to disagree or whatever. But I mean, I've had guys who vehemently oppose on whatever. But that's this topic. That's the problem with the world today is everyone's got to be left or right. You can't just we don't agree, but we still like each other.
True.
It's not everybody is like that.
Wait, just imagine if a hot girl's a Democrat and the guy is hitting on is a Republican. Just imagine what will happen.
His mind goes. You know where his mind's gonna go. You'd have to
my mind's half the time
go to Stormy Daniels. God.
You got to remember that.
I saw that, Donna.
When you play somebody or you bring somebody onto your team, that you can now see when they're calling you their name, and there are times when you have a team that when their name shows up, you want to answer it. And there are times when that another person calls and you say, you know what, I'll keep that for later because I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
You want a team that you can deal with, that you're going to pick up their phone, hey, what's going on? And you can talk to them. And you're that type of person. But that's what people are looking for. People forget it's not all about just qualifications. It's about
culture.
Do I want to talk to you? Do I want not necessarily hang out with you, but can I get along with you?
Yeah, the best fits don't always get the job. I mean, the best qualified don't always get the job. And a lot of times it's just we hire the people because we like the people, So
okay, but what I'm saying is you don't know what they're going to be like. Ernie says, and Ernie says you know by looking at their name on the call identifier that no, this guy's not a hire.
If it's someone if it's like an old teammate, if it's someone's on your team already, to avoid, or if it's a candidate that, like, we've all had candidates that are insane and they just call you daily like they're paying you as a therapist, you just know to avoid certain calls.
That's an extreme case. Okay. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong.
You deal with extreme people.
You're never going to be straight. I don't know what's crooked, me or the picture or my camera, but
it's your picture at the back.
I think it's my picture. So I do it this way. It's all right. I'll just stand like that. But I mean, listen, you never know. You're never going to be perfect at any of this job. This job it's a lot of hard work and a lot of luck and a lot of gut instinct, and people are people, man. That's what makes this job so damn hard.
Okay.
They lie.
People
Everybody lies.
That's the profound wisdom at the end of the show.
Rule number one.
Anybody else got something they want to say? No.
I just want to point out that I agreed with Rich before I heard him. So Rich agreed with me. And I just wanted to be clear that Animal.
So Donna is going to join the millionaire club.
Right on, Donna.
Animal had no time for my comments. He had no regard for them, but then Rich says it, and now it is.
Donna, you need to understand one thing. There's a hierarchy over here. All right, when Rich talks, we all shut up. When he talks, we all shut up. Okay?
I'm honored.
Anyway, I
just-
want to welcome
you know what?
back
I just
Donna.
wanna say
She doesn't
makes
have
it
a
late.
domain name. Food industry recruiter, Ernie, Mr. Purple Barney, cornerstonesearch.com.
What's
The
the name of the
great Rich
dog?
Rosen and MarrioTheRecruiter.com. I still wonder.
Susie.
I guess that was a lost cause. And David M. Marr, final question. How did your webinar go? I missed it yesterday. Can I get the tape?
Yeah, I can send you, I'll email you the link to the recording. It went very well. We had,
I'm registered. Maybe you did send it to me
was
already.
it
I
on?
did-
You know what?
it was on ERE. It was basically covering like helping
Boolean?
people learn how to
Yeah,
write.
we know
better
what it
Boolean
covered.
search.
Did you enjoy it? Did you
No,
love
I-
it?
I
Did you
mean,
have a good time?
Yes, definitely. I love doing
David,
this stuff.
David,
I
would you
will
share
tell
it with
one
us
of-
also?
One of my friends
How do you
listened
going
to
to pay
it,
for it?
and they complimented
it's
you
free.
guys.
Okay, you were
What's that?
complimented.
What's that, Ernie?
Can you
One of
sh-
my friends watched it and they
Everybody
complimented.
loved
it was a
you.
great
That's
job.
what he's saying.
Oh,
Thanks,
Can you
everybody.
share the
Bye,
link with us
puppy.
too, please?
Bye, puppy.
Okay.
See you.